Well, after 5 days and 15 rounds of voting, US Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has been elected Speaker of the House of Representatives. His victory brings an end to the longest stalemate in the lower chamber of Congress in 164 years.
I recognize that this is a moment of transition. As we transition from one Congress to the next, from one majority to the next, from a year of accomplishment.
All right, so you're watching live pictures there from the floor of the US House. Incoming House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries delivering his speech before Kevin McCarthy, the new Speaker of the House, will be sworn in. He'll be handed that famous gavel, the Speaker's gavel, and he will then be sworn in. But for now, let's bring in Peter Mathews. He's Professor of Political Science at Cypress College and the author of Dollar Democracy on Steroids. He joins us live from Los Angeles. Peter, good to have you with us. So look, I mean, we saw a night of chaos and drama on the floor of the House, leading to McCarthy finally winning that 15th round of votes. How did he manage to finally flip the rebels? And does this mean that dissenters like Matt Gaetz have compromised their ultra-conservative principles just to get McCarthy across the line?
I don't think so. I think they've actually gotten him to compromise some of, the positions that he took initially. For example, the way the rules were set up under him, proposed rules, was that it would take 5 members of Congress to get together and to put forth a motion of no confidence or to vote to vacate the seat of the Speaker. And that Matt Gaetz and others wanted to come down. The Freedom Caucus folks who were pushing for this, they wanted to come down to one person. One member of Congress can at any time ask for a vote of no confidence or motion to vacate, which means the Speaker is always going to be at the mercy of the vote of other members in the House who want to get rid of him. And it's going to take a very weakened Speaker. So McCarthy gave up a lot of things. They want term limits. That's going to be on the agenda. That he put that in it. 2 seats on the Rules Committee, a very powerful committee which helps to write how legislation will be discussed and introduced. The Freedom Caucus, the Matt Gaetz people, wanted 2 seats out of 9 on their side for that. And that's a tremendous amount of power. So I think that McCarthy gave up a lot more than Matt Gaetz did in order to get this final vote, which was barely there. Yeah,
that's an interesting point you make, Peter, because McCarthy, as you say, offered these concessions to the rebels. Some analysts say, as you, I think, have just highlighted there, it'll significantly weaken McCarthy's leadership. What is this telling us about the deep divisions within the Republican Party, do you think?
Tremendous. And it began with President Trump. And it is really remarkable that today is January the 6th, the day of the insurrection 2 years ago, which many of these folks actually supported, either tacitly or outwardly. The folks in Congress, some of these people on these caucuses that are pushing for more radicalism. And what's happening on this day, we have a divided Republican Party, which is very detrimental to the United States. It's detrimental because you have to have a unified party on both sides in order to have real debate and real resolution of issues and sometimes compromise to run the government forward. Instead, you got one party in power in the House, so divided it can't even get its own speaker to be elected on the first or second or third ballot. 15 ballots. So this is very dangerous. Things have to be looked at very carefully now and do best to try to get people to unite on issues and both parties to come together, but especially within the Republican Party.
Peter, so in order then to pass key bills like budget bills or raising the debt ceiling, McCarthy will have to borrow some Democratic votes. Is McCarthy strong enough politically, do you think, to ask for the Dems' help? And what is Hakeem Jeffries, what's his incentive to help McCarthy?
Well, the main incentive is to make sure the U.S. government will stay viable, especially with the debt ceiling have to be raised, because if you don't raise the debt ceiling by next August or September, the new budget will be more abundant. It wouldn't be able to, the United States cannot make its payments to the people it borrowed money from, foreign governments, wealthy individuals, and there's going to be a market collapse. It'll affect the economy of the United States and the world if the debt ceiling is not increased. And so these more right-wing Republicans in the Freedom Caucus don't want to raise the debt ceiling. Or if they do raise the debt ceiling, they want to cut out the programs correspondingly, which can really hurt the economy as well. So this is a big, tough decision that they have to make, the Democrats, to be able to support this, and whether or not McCarthy will work with them to actually get the debt ceiling increased to keep the economy viable starting in September and August of this coming year.
Let me close with this. I may not know all of you, some of you are new, but I hope one thing is clear after this week. I never give up.
So you're watching live pictures there from the floor of the House of Representatives on Capitol Hill. The new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, who finally won enough votes after 15 rounds of voting to be the new Speaker. He said it's not how you start, but how you finish, referring to obviously the difficult task of getting the votes to be Speaker. He said there'll be times of agreement and disagreement with the Democrats, but the leader of the Democratic caucus, Hakeem Jeffries, shouldn't take it personally. He said now is the time that all the hard work will begin. He said American dreams can still come true where Americans get answers delivered by a government that recognizes checks and balances. All right, we've still got Peter Mathews, our guest from Los Angeles. Also joining us is Rina Shah, former Republican strategist and senior aide to Republican members of Congress.
There's no other way to put it than saying that Kevin McCarthy begged, borrowed, and stole to get where he got tonight. He has wanted the speakership for so many years. And I remember on Capitol Hill watching him ascend in House leadership in the ranks of Republicans and really thinking that he is a political animal. He isn't a person that is known for his policy chops. When he was a right-hand man to Speaker Paul Ryan, the Republican speaker who's best known for his love of policymaking, Kevin McCarthy was thought to be a man who could do the job of dirty political games and do it right. What we saw this entire past week is that he doesn't have much of a spine. He gave up a great many things. And these concessions, it's important to note, we don't fully know what all of them were. Many of these were leaked, but officially we will come to know in the weeks ahead what exactly was promised, because some of these promises were made with a handshake. And as we saw on display in the final day of voting and in these last few ballots, trust in his own caucus has been eroded. There were 6 final holdouts that essentially voted present to give him the speakership, lowering the threshold for him, so to speak, as well. And those people really do not trust him, and he really had to do anything possible to get their vote.
Yeah, let me just put that point then to Peter over in Los Angeles. I mean, Peter, as Rina was saying there, McCarthy has offered a number of concessions to the rebels. Some analysts say that, look, this will significantly weaken his leadership. Do you think he's going to come to regret those deals that he's made?
I think Rina really, described it quite well, what the process of what took place. But he will be hobbled in a sense with what he offered. We don't even know a lot of what he offered. We don't know. What did he whisper to Matt Gaetz at the end to get Matt Gaetz to vote present and help to put him over the top? So we don't know any of this yet. And Rena's correct. We know what really came down in terms of the agreements that he made. And I didn't think it was very seemly to see, the United States of America, which is our country, our wonderful country, it's a democracy, a democratic republic, and an example of the world. At the same time, this bargaining going on worldwide television of a speaker begging for votes and then making deals. We know there were deals made because the television screens kept having the bullet points of everything given away. And this doesn't seem to me like a democracy, a process of democracy which is based on ideas and on cohesion coming together with a set of ideas that would compete with other ideas. This is the problem here. I think that in the end, he's going to be a weakened speaker, a very weak speaker, so to speak, but we'll have to wish him well. We want him to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, going forward, Peter, in terms of business, in order to pass key bills like budget bills or raising the debt ceiling, McCarthy will have to borrow some Democratic votes. That's an interesting point. Is McCarthy strong enough, do you think, politically to ask for the Dems' help?
I think he asked for their help, and some of them provide it. The problem is that's going to turn off some of his right-wing and even the middle-of-the-road Republican supporters on his side. And they might start making bargains with him or telling him they're not going to support him on other issues. And at any moment, since he agreed, apparently, to this motion to vacate regarding one member of Congress putting it forward, the entire Congress gets to vote on to make him leave the office. It's like a motion of no confidence. Since he gave in on that, he could be up to challenge a motion to vacate every week. That doesn't give him a solid base to stand on. So it doesn't matter if he gets the Democrats to support him or not. He can try, and he should try. But it'll also put him in the middle of tension and different ideological perspectives that we see the Congress exhibiting all the way through, within the party, Republican Party, and also between the two parties.
All right, we have to leave it there. Rina Shah there in Washington, D.C., and Peter Mathews joining us from Los Angeles. Thank you both.